Imus in the morning on Sports Radio 66. The Fan, WFAN.
It's Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter. Hello?
Hello? Agent Imus?
Yes?
Do you hear the lambs?
No.
The sound of the screaming lambs? They're calling you.
I don't want them to call me.
Donald. Donald.
I don't like that. It makes me feel creepy.
We're poor little lambs that have lost our way.
Can we get to our report here?
Greetings from the Jeffrey Dahmer trial, or as I like to call him, the queer who made Milwaukee famous. From all appearances, it seems like it will be a most delicious experience. 12 jurors, 2 alternates. Now that's what I call a baker's dozen. During the selection process, Jeffries' lawyer, Gerald Boyle, rather unfortunate last name, one would have to agree. Mr. Boyle asked potential jurors if they had a problem with the way homosexuals made love, to which came a reply, no, just the way one of them made goulash. Tasty wit, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
District Attorney E. Michael McCann warned the prospective candidates that Jeffrey be considered sane unless Boyle can prove otherwise, which I would suppose to be a formidable task at the very least. There's nothing crazy about Jeffrey. He's merely a young lad who was out to get ahead in the world. Ended up with a head in the freezer. Rather scrumptious courtroom, all those fresh, delectable humans. A veritable hot buffet. A smorgasbord of culinary delights.
This is making me sick.
I watched them install the plastic shield, so it will be just like peasants under glass.
Peasants on the glass?
I've offered to cater the proceedings. A little head cheese, perhaps?
Oh, come on.
How about some lady fingers?
This is stupid.
Taste this Frank. It's kosher, I assure you. Just check underneath the mustard. Order in the court. Very well, I'll take a slice of juror number 4.
Hannibal the Cannibal, live from the Jeffrey Dahmer trial here on the Imus in the Morning program.
I'm sending you a lovely pate.
Imus in the morning.
Imus in Washington, senior political analyst Richard M. Nixon.
Yes, and thank you so much. Imus in the morning. Now then, let's get right down to cases quickly today, as I have considerable ground to cover, given the press of news over recent days.
Right.
Issue 1, in my view, not the State of the Union, Donald, rather the State of the Congress. And I refer to Congress in general, and to Ted Kennedy's head in particular. You know, when they put the camera on him Tuesday night, I didn't know if it was a United States Senator or Boxcar Willie. I mean, he's begun to look like he's had breast implants in his cheeks. And I'm thinking that perhaps he knows his political career is about at its end, and so he's getting himself in shape to try out as a sports anchor on ESPN. I can just see him co-anchoring with Tom Mees. You can get the effect if you picture in your mind's eye, Dono, 2 hot air balloons tethered to a picnic bench. Now then, it only follows that issue 2 has got to be the Tom Foley ear problem. What is that all about? Well, I'm watching him deliver the Democratic response, and I'm distracted because I fully expect people to start filing in and hanging their coats on him. Hey, remember the basset hound Lyndon Johnson picked up by the ears?
Oh, sure.
Well, do we know where Foley was at the time?
Well,
Tom, think about backing off from that old microwave oven a few feet, huh? Now, freak features, I mean, are no respecter of the political aisle, I hasten to add.
Yeah.
How else to explain such things as Strom Thurmond, who now looks like he's got a root-bound chia pet on his head? Shouldn't be so critical of Strom, though. Embalmers are not miracle workers, after all. Jesus, close the casket on that case, eh, Dono? And what in hell's half-acre has happened to Bill Bradley's neck?
What?
I mean, I'm looking over the assembled senators there, and I get to Dollar Bill, and he looks like a freaking pelican, holding stuff in there to fly back and feed his young, for Christ's sakes. Though that's like so many athletes, J.D. Once the commitment to physical activity is gone, they just kind of go to seed. Unlike this president, by the way, as you can see.
Yeah.
In fact, let's wrap this up, because I'm due for my taping.
You're taping.
American Gladiators. I'll be going up against Nitro, Thunder, Ice, you know? Yes. Well, to return to my State of the Union reflections, what about Colin Powell's hair? kind of got the frizzies, doesn't he?
Well,
all those tight little curly cues.
No. That's an ethnic characteristic
What?
typical of all African Americans, you moron.
Colin Powell is a Negro?
Yes.
No way. Well, whatever. I'm not here to pull a Bill Clinton on persons of divergent ethnic origins, like that mafioso reference he made concerning Governor Cuomo. By the way, close the drapes there, will you?
There aren't any drapes in here.
Oops, sorry. That's your neck. And that's just one man's view of things, Dono. State of the Union from a man who used to deliver those speeches himself, you know, till they me over. Dick Nixon. And just like Dennis Weaver, I am out of here.
No. Dennis Miller.
You. Cha-cha.
Imus in the morning.
Political analyst Richard M. Nixon.
So, bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee contained no water. So, Dono, we recall this week not only the day the music died, Valens, Holly, Bopper. You know, I was supposed to have been on that flight.
Right.
Anyway, it looks as though we also observed the day the Russo and Francesa show expired, eh?
Well.
Mike and the Mad Dog, both lovely people, but on the outs with each other.
Right.
I hasten to congratulate you, I-Man, for the role you've chosen in this very delicate matter.
Right.
A mediator, peacemaker, a skill so necessary in a leader.
Yeah.
The ability to bring together the insignificant players, eh? Those who are interchangeable parts, the gnats on the hide of an organization. Like when that f***ing John Dean sabotaged me back there during my own difficult. Four-eyed little bastard. Anyway, my assessment of the Russo-Francesa problem.
Right.
Bad news for Chris. Because it'll be Francesa who emerges the winner of this thing. If only on the principle of the survival of the fattest. The man's a lock.
Well.
Issue 2. And speaking of dead, poor old Burt Parks, eh, J.D.?
Well, yes.
Mr. Miss America took that last stroll down life's runway this week. I believe I have an idea for a proper epitaph. See what you think. We inscribe the words we most remember him by. There he is, not. Issue 3, he said, she said.
Yeah.
Seems to crop up more and more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anita Hill, Patricia Bowman, Jennifer Flowers, the Tyson case.
Right.
Say, by the way, I saw where NBC News, as they did during the Willie Smith trial, has now identified the alleged victim in the Tyson matter, arguing that not naming her would have opened them to criticism from people who'd asked why they used Patricia Bowman's name, but not this one.
Right.
You get it?
Yeah.
And Dick Nixon is thinking, perhaps the next person Tyson could develop a sexual interest in would be NBC News president Michael Gartner, whom I suspect might like to squeal for a black man, and whose name we could then give to the star. Hopefully with photos. Issue 4, Dono, and related matter.
Right.
The reality pouch, female condom.
Right.
And an innie, you might say, rather than an outie.
Right.
It won preliminary approval, you know, from the FDA last week, and not a moment too soon, as it may remove me from my continuing struggle over which to choose, latex or lambskin.
Right.
Now it could become academic, because we simply, leave it up to Wanda.
Right.
You and I can go bareback, I-Man.
Fine.
And should the woman decide against sex on a given occasion, no waste, you see, because she could always take a sandwich to the office and the thing the next day. Did you see the size of those things?
Yeah.
How about the unreality pouch, or the wishful thinking pouch, or the have safe sex and then store your car in it pouch? Jesus. Oh, well, issue 5, and concluding today, J.D.,
Right.
You won the Daily News Imus versus Stern balloting 2-1, eh?
Right.
Congratulations. Good show.
Thank you.
Strikes me that if the same guy who counted your votes had been counting for Richard Nixon, there'd be a Dick in the White House to this day. Come to think of it, never mind.
Imus in the morning.
Richard
100.
I don't know.
American genius. Hey, why can't Americans make peace in Middle East?
I don't know.
Because they can't make anything. Workers too lazy, too stupid. Hey. What you get when you cross elephant with American?
I don't know.
An elephant who refuses to work. Why American chicken no cross road?
I don't know.
Too much trouble, too lazy. Stay on the other side. Hey, thank you very much, sir. Domo, arigato.
Imus in the morning.
By one of this nation's wealthiest individuals, my kind of economics expert, who has a Rolls, a limo, a Manhattan penthouse, weekend digs overlooking Long Island Sound, and about as much depth as Tony Orlando. Yep, it's you, I-Man, a true pioneer in the field of eco-political opportunism who's got the balls to say at one moment, "Get the hell away from me with that squeegee, Pedro, or you'll be wearing it like a popsicle stick." And then, moments later, can be lapping up some wheedling sob-sister columnist moaning about the injustices of food stamps. Give me a break. And by the way, on second thought, I'm not exactly nuts about George Bush butchering America's defense budget because a bunch of ACLU-smelling apologizers are hollering about some trumped-up peace dividend. Pardon my passive-resistant butt, but I don't think so. I'll tell you what the peace dividend is. The peace dividend is that they're defenseless. You got your Ruskies over there standing in line for dirt, for God's sake, and we send them humanitarian help? I don't think so. Help them, hell. Finish them off. But no. Once again, we'll let them up off the mat to satisfy the tofu goblin shrieking unity merchants of the Washington Post and New York Times. And 50 years from now, we'll all be driving their cars, for crying out loud. Jesus, if history has taught us anything, it ought to be that you should cream people so they stay creamed. How hard is this? Oh, yeah, and speaking of the papers, that Daily News write-in election to pick your favorite DJ, Imus or Stern.
Right.
Imus wins it, and by like 2-1, against the king of New York radio? Who is counting the ballots? Charles Keating? Rain Man? Cut me some slack here. There ain't been that many boxes stuffed since they got Mike Tyson out of circulation. I'm buying that shit. Are you? I don't think so. And that's opinion, Dono. Worldview. From a senior states lady who, well, you know, doesn't swallow all the time. Jean Kirkpatrick. Thank you very much.
Imus in the morning.
Rumor about this Jennifer Fitzgerald, you know. Shudder to think what she looks like. I mean, here's a president of the United States, and he's married to Burl Ives. Who knows what he might have settled for on the side? She could be a cross between Judd Hirsch and Al Troutwig. Man, come on, George. JFK had Marilyn Monroe running in and out of the Oval Office, and he was married to a fox. You got the Pillsbury Dough Girl next to you on the sack every night. Couldn't you at least have held out for, I don't know, Katharine Hepburn? Coming up, a double shot of Aerosmith, Milk Cow Blues, and a lick and a promise.
Imus in the morning.
No talent. You're funnier when you're drinking a lot of alcohol. Your cat is funnier than you are on the radio. You should go to the liquor store. Then you'd be funny. And also, Maulers are too bigger than mine, you And if you don't believe me, you can ask Mike Tyson. So screw off. Signed, Donald J. Trump.
The latest communication has been turned over to the federal authorities, and to reading is fundamental official for further investigation.
Meantime, back on the presidential campaign trail, a shameless display by Democratic hopeful Bob Kerrey in Concord, New Hampshire, in what is viewed as a desperate attempt to garner voter sympathy. Let's go live to IIWCNN UAP NICB THIVP NBA TMC TV BLOWME Diane Sawyer. Diane, just what happened there?
Hello, Diane Sawyer, live here in Concord.
Yeah, we know all that, Diane. What happened with Kerry?
Startling, to say the least, as Senator Kerry removed his artificial leg here to deliver what he claimed to be the first truly honest stump speech ever made.
Appealing to the Jeffrey Dahmer constituency, no doubt.
Meantime, both Governor Bill Clinton and boxer Mike Tyson had to be sedated today after misinterpreting reports about a big hole opening on the East Coast, not realizing the report referred to the Earth's ozone layer.
And finally, an entertainment note from Hollywood, where New Line Cinema has just announced plans to do a biographical film on the life of New York City radio icon Don Imus that will offer an especially vivid close-up of the controversial figure's sexual preferences, titled The Hand That Robs the Cradle.
Imus in the morning.
Amidst the traditional fanfare and shameless universal panoply with which it has become associated,
I'm fine.
the 16th Winter Olympiad began in Albertville, France, Once again, the nations of the world have gathered to compete in events of unabashed inanity to celebrate this perennial tradition of sportsmanship.
Right.
And once again, American television will present slow-motion montages of athletes struggling against the odds in their quest for the gold, underscored by the theme from Star Wars, alternating with images of the very same athletes eating Wheaties, drinking Coca-Cola, and lacing up their Nikes with their MasterCards. Somehow, the propaganda merchants of Madison Avenue will make the American consumer equate success and personal triumph with whizzing down a mountain on your ass in a sled at 90 miles an hour and their particular brand of underarm deodorant.
Right.
Yet this crass commercial exploitation is not the most grievous of offenses.
No.
What is abhorrent in the television coverage of these events is the network itself, CBS, the Caucasian broadcasting system. Where are the Negroes on the CBS Olympic team?
Well.
Why in a broadcast with 23 events lasting over 16 days, there are only 2 African-American commentators?
Well.
Why should there be fewer blacks on camera covering the bobsled event than there are competing in the damn bobsled event? Answer me.
I don't know.
They seem perfectly willing to share a moment with the world just so long as their world don't have any people of color in it.
Well.
Let's take a look at this rogues gallery of broadcasters, shall we? What a plethora of simple monkey-ass mother Paul Azam with them Bugs Bunny Halloween wax teeth, Jughead Tim McCarver, Pat O'Brien in them slinky eye X-ray specs, this boy with the Eddie Mustard hair, Dick Stockton. Why, you even got that Nazi Fraulein Katarina Witt. What's the matter? Debbie Thomas size wasn't fat enough to cover the figure skating?
Well.
Reggie Harris can't say a few pissy remarks in the downhill? Mark McEwen only get to say stupid stuff over the damn credits. They don't even let the boy do one of them Charles Corral ode to the pine tree pieces. Well, the only reason Greg Gumbel and James Brown there is that stupid Neil Pearson think Greg is Puerto Rican and James gonna sing Cold Sweat at the closing ceremony. The fact that in this Olympiad the events themselves are more racially balanced only underscores this blatant broadcasting bias.
Right.
It is much more obvious how conspicuously absent blacks are in the coverage when you got dreadlocks screaming down the bobsled run and brothers from Staten Island whizzing by out in the mother luge.
Well.
But CBS is a Negro-phobic network. In all of its programming, there ain't even one black show. No Sanford, no Good Times. The closest they come to displaying people of color is Murphy Brown.
Well.
And where is Miss Brown? Preempted by a bunch of white people watching a bunch of other white people sliding down the White Mountain.
Well.
And the woman ain't even Negro. You got the Brown's name.
Professor Leonard Jeffries,
You got that
here on the Imus in the Morning program.
The boy don't miss the dance around.
Obviously have watched.
Imus in the morning.
I'm in the morning.